So thank you everyone for coming today. In today's lecture, we're basically going to be going through a walkthrough project. So this is going to be a little bit different than the lessons that I've done before. It's not going to be that slides heavy. Right now, you've probably been exposed to the basics of App Inventor. We've worked through some walkthrough projects. Now we're going to work through a much bigger project, and this is called the tour guide project. And specifically, the kind of core elements of this project is using maps and like the GPS elements of MIT App Inventor. And that's something really interesting that if you get the hang of, you can implement in your projects, whether it be for like hackathons or even future projects that you work on for yourself. And so what I wanted to start off with is just kind of a bigger overview of how this project is going to look like, or what we're essentially trying to get done with this tour guide project. And I would recommend doing this type of thinking or in this type of organization before you work on any sort of project. So I'm just going to share a whiteboard, just basically, and I'll be going back and forth referring to this whiteboard throughout the project. But essentially what we're trying to do is we have a tour guide that in our app, what we want to accomplish is we want basically to get three things. We want users to be able to look at the app itself. And so they want to be able to look at the app itself and figure out where different locations are in an area. And so that will be something kind of like this, where you have, let's just say this is a map area, and then you have different markers. So you have like, a marker like this is, the idea is when a user, and Zoom is telling me my internet is unstable. So if there's any problem, just like put it in the chat. So anyways, I'll keep going. So basically like this is our map, and this is as good of a drawing as you can do, sorry about that. But essentially once the user clicks on a different element, we want two different events to happen. If they click on it, let's say they click on this location right here. I don't know, we'll just put like this is Boston or something. If they do a short click, we want just the user to get like a short description of that place, a short description. And so that will be like in a pop-up. So literally when they click on it, a pop-up will come up, and then after the short click, and so they'll get like some fast facts about that area. But there's also another event that could happen, which is a long click. And so if the user does a long click, in other words, if they like hold on one of these different markers on the map, then what's going to happen is it's going to take them to a new screen. And I'll come back to this later on because we'll elaborate on what this new screen is. But basically, that's the core event handler on the first part of our app. So now what I'll go ahead and do is give you guys like around 2 minutes to just get MIT App Inventor opened up, and go ahead and start a new project. And then also open up your App Inventor companion if you're using it on your phone. So I'll give you guys some time to do that. And in the meantime, I'll share my screen. And of course, another reminder, like throughout the lesson, if you have any questions, you can put your questions in the chat, as well as you can ask either me, your private message me, or Ambrose, our TA, if you have any questions. All right, can you guys see my screen? Just double checking. This is just a blank project. I've named this tour guide PROJ Proj.
Yeah, we
all
can
right,
see.
you guys can. All right, that's great. So go ahead and I'll give you guys, I said 2 minutes, so I'll give you guys like a little bit more time just to get everything set up. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get moving. So right now you have this screen, and just a reminder, I always like to do this reminder. On the left, we have designer mode and blocks mode, and we have our palette, if you guys remember, and we're going to be looking through the palette for, we're going to be using it quite a bit throughout this project. We also have our main screen, our components on the side, as well as our properties. And so what I'm going to start off by doing is we're going to be looking at 3 different screens in our project, right? And so we're going to have the screens essentially are going to be named screen 1, location screen, and gallery screen. Don't worry about making a new one yet. For now, let's focus on screen 1. And so what screen 1 is going to look like is very similar to like our whiteboard. And so essentially what we drew on the whiteboard is we wanted like a map that the user could click on, and the map should take up the majority of the screen. And so I want you guys to go ahead and look through the palette and tell me if you find kind of an appropriate user interface tool that you could use for a map. So and then once you find it, put it in the chat like what it's called. And so essentially what we're trying to do is get a map, kind of like what you would see like on a GPS or something. Look through the palette and see if you can find something. The name is pretty direct, but let me know and put in the chat if you find something useful for it. Yep, exactly, map. That's all it is. When you have, again, I think I told you this about this last time, but essentially if you click on this little question mark on the side, I don't know if you guys can see it, you'll get kind of a long description, or not a long description, but a short description about what that module is. In this case, it's very self-explanatory. We want to use a map. And actually another thing that we're going to add is we're also going to add a text box for description. And what that's going to be called is, in the palette, it's going to be called instruction label. So go ahead and search for that. Or actually, never mind, it's not called that. It's called text box. Never mind. Sorry, it's not text box. Actually, text box is if you want the user to input something. This is just going to be a label. And so go ahead and drag a label from the palette onto the screen. Just search up label. And if you get this pop-up, just say continue with both sessions. I have another screen open, but you guys won't get that notification, so don't worry about it. So you want to drag in text for label 1 like that, and that's in the palette. So once you have that text, I'm going to go ahead and rename this. In the past, we didn't do this for components, but I'm going to go ahead and do it for this project because we have a ton of elements. So go to components, label 1 should be highlighted, and rename this to instruction label. Go ahead and rename that to instruction label. And again, feel free to like interrupt me throughout this if you have any questions, and I'll put the specific how I named it into the chat, instruction label. All right. And all instruction label is going to be is it's going to be like kind of a starting point that gives a description of what our app should do. So like if someone just gets onto the app, you don't want to just show them a map and then they kind of discover it for yourself. A well-designed app will tell them or give some sort of text that gives an insight on what the app is. So keep that in mind whenever you're designing your apps on MIT App Inventor. All right, so now you have under screen 1, instruction label. And if you're ever trying to catch up, just look at what I have in the component screen. That should serve you well. But now what I'm going to do is add our map into the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag the map just like that. And what I'm going to do is just double check. And yeah, so I have instruction label and map. It should look exactly like this. And all right. And so under the text instruction label, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some text, and I'm also going to change some of the properties. So I want this to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to put the instruction label property as a font size 18.0 font size. So go ahead and do that. So now you'll see automatically it's gotten a bit bigger, the text on my screen. I'm going to check has margins, which is checked. And then I'm going to put in some special text. It's going to be a lot for you to type out. So I'm just going to put in the chat. And so here, let me go ahead and copy paste this for you guys. So go ahead and copy paste that, this description into the text. And so that's right here in properties, like this. And copy paste it like that. So again, all I've done is I've taken instruction label, the font size I've set as 18.0, and then I've added this text right here. And so, I put the text into the chat for you guys. And you should see something like this. Obviously, you don't see the entire text, but when you open it on App Inventor, it will create some new lines and it will all fit there. So don't worry about that. But again, this is how it should look like. So I'll give you guys a little bit of time just to get that all settled. And again, I put the text, this specific text into the chat for you guys. All right. All right, I'm going to keep on going. So for our markers, or for our map module, we need to do something. First of all, for the map itself, this is like kind of weird that it's just like in the small corner on the screen. So we want it to fill up the entire screen. And so there's an easy way to do that in MIT App Inventor. And that is to look in the properties section. And I'll zoom in a little bit if it makes it easier for you guys. And under height, I'm going to change this to fill parent. Click OK. Right, automatically you see how it fills the rest of the screen for height. I also want to do the same thing for width. So I'm going to go ahead and click on fill parent. And right away we see this map now, like as we intended, it fills up the entire screen. And so that's really nice. And basically what we're going to do from here is we're going to and also before I move on from there, you notice that I think it's default around MIT, like on the map. I think they like did that on purpose. So that's how it'll look like right here. And now I'm going to ask you guys to find out, like just tinker on with the map qualities, and now try to figure out, and you can consult with the internet if you'd like, figure out how you can add a marker. So under the map. And you can do this in the design portion. So I'll give you guys some time to try to figure that out, how to add a marker on the map. Okay, so right away we got some answers. So both Sophia and Alec say we have to drag a marker onto the map, which is exactly right. So in palette, you can search for marker. And this is what I was trying to draw on the screen. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to drag, for this example, we're going to drag 4 markers into the property section. So let's go ahead and just drag 4 markers. Don't worry too much about the coordinates, just kind of drag them on, and you should get something like this, right? So under map, you have 4 markers like this. And so ideally, what we want the user to be able to do is when they click on it for a short period of time, like we said, a pop-up should come up, kind of like a pop-up like this, like a small amount of text. But when the user is really holding on one of these elements, we want to take them to a new screen. So we have 4 markers here, and I'm going to rename them to pretty specific things. So go ahead and rename your markers to these 4 locations. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. So you can click on to rename it, you click on marker 1, and then you scroll down, click on rename, and then you can rename it to the new name, which is Navy Yard. These are just random locations around Boston, if you're wondering. Logan Airport. And then in Cocktail. I'll give you guys some time to catch up. So go ahead and drag 4 markers and then rename it to these locations. And I put those locations in the chat as well. I'll give you guys like, I don't know, a minute or so. I hope I'm not going too fast.
Which ones are the ones that will be labeled as the things, or can we just choose random ones?
So what do you mean? Like, what are the names?
Which place is MIT?
Yeah, so don't worry about that. Just do random ones. We'll get into how to specifically label MIT's actual location in a bit, but just put random ones for now.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and keep going. Just, you can put in the chat if you need a little more private message or something, if you need a bit more time, but I'm gonna keep going for now. And where we go into next is actually what Leon asked, which is, okay, I just put some random markers MIT, but like, how do we know, like, or how do we put the marker on the actual location? So I'm gonna ask you guys that question. Can you guys look in the properties of these markers and tell a way that you think that we can put the marker on the specific location, geographic location of these different places? Find a way that in the properties and then put in the chat like how you think we could do that. Yep, exactly. You guys all got it. It's latitude and longitude. So for this, okay, this part is going to be a little bit, you guys are going to really have to follow on pretty closely. But what I'm going to do right now is give you the coordinates for the latitude and longitude of these 4 locations. And I want you guys to go ahead and set it. And so I'm going to type it in like this. So I'm going to put the latitude first and then the longitude like this. And all right, let's go ahead and do this. So for MIT, these are the coordinates. And you got to make sure that you're labeling it correctly. Actually, not much will happen if you mess it up. It just won't be as accurate. So just try to do it correctly. And so this is for MIT's. So that's marker 1, basically. It's only really small differences in latitude and longitude, but it makes a big difference, I guess. That's Navy yards.
How do we change the latitude and longitude of what's it called, the markers?
So you go into the properties like this. So like I have a
Oh.
property, yeah, and then you go to
Oh.
latitude and longitude, and that's it.
Yeah, I see.
I probably should have said that. Sorry. And that is for Hancock Tower. Okay, if your latitude and longitude disappeared, I'm gonna go ahead and say like that you might be, yeah, you might need to remake them or change. It might not be showing up on where you have your mapped. Or yeah, they're all off map view. That's basically, yeah. So go ahead and check that. And I have to do it myself, actually. So this step will probably take a little bit of time, and so I'll give you guys like a good like 2 to 3 minutes to do this. So. And you'll notice that you already have a latitude and longitude for all your markers because MIT App Inventor, when you put it in, like it's gonna automatically give the exact latitude and longitude of where you randomly drag your marker. So. Yeah. It also brings up a good point. Like if you zoom out a lot or zoom in a bunch, it could mess up like the visibility, but this is how it should look like, kind of. I mean, I put in the exact coordinates. I hope I did it correctly. All right, can you guys like put in the chat whether you're ready to move on, or maybe put a thumbs up, or is there a way to lock it in place? Yes, I believe you can click on this lock right here. Maybe wait, actually, I'm not sure what you mean by locked in place, like the screen or. Okay, yeah, that seemed to have locked the thing in place. But if I unlock it, I can move it around. So, all right. Looks like a lot of people are ready, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on. Next, what I want you to be able to do is set some other properties. These are more of like kind of housekeeping, data collection type stuff. We're gonna get into more specific codes, but Obviously, when you're doing like a tour guide app, you need a lot of descriptions and stuff like that. Luckily, you guys don't have to type it up from scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys descriptions to put in the property. So where exactly you should put this is right here. So for example, if I wanted to put a description for MIT, I would put MIT, I would click on MIT in the component screen, and then I could type in my description right there. I'll give you guys descriptions for these places. So I'm going to go ahead and put that into the chat, and you can just copy and paste these in. So this one is for MIT. So what I would do is I would just copy paste whatever is in the chat and put that in the description. And then also what you want to do is click enable info box. Info box is going to be pretty important for us. And then scroll down and then give it a title. So in this case, the title will be MIT. And that's essentially how it will look like for the user. It will give you a nice little label above. So go ahead and do that. And I'll give you some of the other descriptions. The title doesn't matter too much. You can just put whatever you would like. This is for the Navy Yard, the description. And again, when you do this, click enable info box and then give it like a random title in this case. Airport. Again, if you're lost, please feel free, if you feel stuck or something, definitely private message one of either me or Ambrose. So Logan Airport. You don't have to change any of the other settings. And for those of you who want to make yours exactly like mine, even including the titles, I've already put the 4 descriptions for you in order, but I'll also give you guys the titles that I put just in case, some of you may want it exact, so no problem. And I will give you guys like 2 to 3 minutes to do this. And again, another reminder, how it should look like is it should look like this. Have your description that I gave for you guys. Check on enable info box. The latitude and longitude should match. And then you should give a title. And all of these other settings don't mess around with them. The defaults are good. I'll give you guys some time to do that. And what I'll say for you guys is once you have this done, go ahead and try running your code. It should give you a description box that the long click, we have to code that, but the short click, it's automatically built in into these kind of widgets. So I will say go ahead and I'll give you guys some time to run it and see if it works. See if you can click on these different locations and you can get their different pop-ups. And so please put in the chat if it works as intended for you. And again, I will keep, this is how everything should look like. I have not added anything in the blocks component yet. Okay, Russell says it works, which is really neat. Nice. And again, how it should look like is basically how it looked like on the whiteboard, a map that you could click on and get some sort of info box. And yeah, definitely put into the chat if it worked for you. Cool, worked for someone else. Cool. I'll give you guys like a few more minutes. Just, I know because there was a lot of kind of tedious stuff there. And if you're looking for something to do in the meantime, I will say try to go online. You don't need to do this just yet. I'll give you guys more time, but if you have time and you've already finished everything, go online and find a picture of each of these things. So find a picture of MIT, find a picture of Navy Yard, find a picture of Logan Airport, find a picture of Hancock Tower, and download all of them. Download one picture each. So so download one picture of each. So for example, I think my screen should be shared here, but like I could just search up like I don't know, Hancock Tower, and just go to the internet and then just like download a picture of Hancock Tower. I think that's what it's called. Is it in Boston? I don't even know what Hancock Tower is. Yeah, the John Hancock Tower. So you can get a picture of that. So go ahead and do that, and I'll give you guys like 2 minutes or so. So everyone go ahead and do that once you get the app working. So get all the settings in place and then download a picture of each location. So I'm going to go ahead and do that in the meantime. The pictures, can I send the pictures? I don't know an easy way to do that right off the bat. So that's why I kind of, I mean, you can just go to, if there's any reason why you can't, then I think just let us know. But I can't, you can just find your own pictures basically for this. Yeah, so one of each location, one of Hancock Tower, Logan Airport, MIT, and the Navy Yard. And probably type in Boston next to it because there's like more than one maybe like place called Navy Yard. I could be wrong, but don't do anything with the photos yet. I'll tell you what to do. Just name them into something reasonable. like definitely don't name them into some like, some crazy ID or something. Rename the photos and just keep them all in a accessible location on your computer. And I'll give you guys specifics as to what to do with them. I figured while we do all this kind of nitty-gritty stuff, we just download these photos. So again, also rename your photos into a nice title. This project has a lot of this type of stuff. So this kind of intensive data collection and stuff like that. So yeah, but it's good practice. And right now I'm downloading the pictures for myself because I actually don't have them either. So and once you download the pictures, just go ahead and drag them into your media files. So you can just go onto App Inventor. Under the components, there's a media section. Click upload file and then just put all those 4 pictures here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to get back to the whiteboard. So I'll give you guys some time to do that. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that myself. All right, so how are you guys doing? Do you guys need more time? Could you let us chat if you're ready? Okay, one person says they're finished. I think more importantly, if you need more time, you should let us know. Everyone seems, at least everyone who's typed in the chat seems to be ready. And I'll reshare my screen real quick. This is how it should look like, right? You have all the different locations, and then you have the different media like places right here. It should be in your media. For example, if I want to look at, and you can also like preview it. So if you click on it and then click preview, you can just get like a sense of how it looks like. So I have all my different pictures and I can get a sense of how they look like that. And you have to close the preview like this. All right. And so basically this should be a good one. Getting all of these things settled should be a good stopping point for our break. So, I mean, you can use like the initial, if you're still getting caught up, use the starting points of the break to get yourself ready. But if not, we're going to take a break for till around 10 minutes or so. So come back at around 6:02, 6:03 like that.
Have we done anything with the pictures yet?
I haven't done anything with the pictures except drag them into the media section of the app. So were you able to, let me reshare it.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, okay. Once you do that, that's all you need for now. We're going to be doing a lot more with them, but so yeah, come back in around like 10 minutes basically from the break. And I'll be here so you can like message if you need some help troubleshooting things during the break. But yeah, come back after like 10 minutes. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and get started again. Basically, what we wanted, where we are, I guess what I'll start off with actually is just like what we're trying to do next, right? And so basically, what we have so far is like, I'll draw it out a little bit better, is we have like screen one, right? So screen one. And so this has like some description text. And then we also have like right below, okay, this line is not straight at all, but some like a map, right? And so we have like different markers in different places, and when you click on them, like a pop-up comes up with a different text, right? And so what we want to do now is we want to start designing out our next screen. And so the way our next screen looks like is basically our next screen, how it looks like is once we click on an item, let's see, I can change my, I think not everyone is back yet. So I'll go slower, but let's see. So yeah, so basically once we do a long click, this is what happens when we do a short click right here. But a long click, we want to go to another screen. And this screen, we are going to call, this location screen. And so in location screen, basically the way this is going to look like is we're going to have primarily in our screen an image of the location. And these are the images that you downloaded. And then below that, we're going to have a small like title, right? A title. Sorry, I can just cramp that in there, but a description. So a description of the place. Let me actually erase this. I could probably do this a little nicer. So yeah, so an image like this, right? A title, a description. And then we're going to have three buttons. One is a gallery button, which I'll explain what this is. A gallery button, a back button. So just to go back to, if we click this, we want to go back to this screen. Or finally, I'll have a speak button. And this is something that uses application that we worked with before. And all this does is once you click on it, you know, you're going to get, I don't know, like a description of what it's going to read out this description text. The gallery button is kind of another feature that I'm not sure if we'll have time for it, but if we do, basically the idea behind the galleries is you can take pictures of yourself at that location, and you can store it with a tiny database. But I'm not sure if we'll have it. If so, we'll come back to this and I'll draw that out for you. But essentially, this is how our next screen should look like. So we've already coded out, or not coded out, but already designed or screen one. Now we're gonna do location screen. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna now I'll share my screen again. And let's go back to this page. And again, you should have your media all set up, all the locations. It should look exactly like this, pretty much. I don't see there shouldn't really be much reason why it should be different. So it should just look like this. And let's go ahead and add the screen that we just planned out. So that's location screen, and click OK. And so click add screen and then click location screen. It might take a little bit of time to create, but yeah, so I'll give you guys like a few seconds to get that up and running. So it should look like this. It's just basically a blank slate. if you want to look at what it looks like. So now what we're going to do, once we have this, is we're going to give ourselves a placeholder for our image. So we go into palette, search for image, and then just drag that on here. Image, as you can see, is super tiny as is, but don't worry, we'll mess around with the properties later to make it look a little bit, I guess, better. But go ahead and drag your image out. Now we're gonna need two labels. So now I'm gonna open this up for you guys. And we use this in our last screen, but what should we use from the palette to get labels for a title and then description of the image? Go ahead and put in the chat what you think we should use from the palette.
Wait, sorry, what?
Like what should we use from the palette to like what should we use from here to have labels for a title and description?
Label.
Yep, exactly. Label. We used this last time too. Drag out two labels, one for your title, one for your description. Just put it in like that. Give you guys some time to get that up and ready. Image 1, label 2. All right, so once we get that working, now what we're going to do is we're going to need to use what's called the horizontal arrangement. And so let me explain a little bit about why you would need this. So to get in MIT App Inventor in the layout, to get like, if you remember the image that I drew out, to get a label set up for everything, basically what you need to do is get something to box those three buttons together. So to do that, you need to go to layouts right here and then drag out a horizontal arrangement. And it'll make more sense once you like try it out. But if we don't use a horizontal arrangement, we can't be guaranteed that our buttons will be in a nice row together. So that's why we need the horizontal arrangement. So go to layout and drag out the horizontal arrangement. You can also use horizontal scroll arrangement, but there's no reason why we would need that because our buttons are going to be fixed. So there's no reason why the user should be scrolling for them. But yeah, that's what that's for. You can also have like a nice table arrangement if you want to make like a 3x3 of buttons or something, or of images. So these layouts will be your friend, especially if you want cleaner looking apps instead of just randomly scattered things. And while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and drag out 3 buttons to our arrangement. And you can see how it nicely kind of packages them. Whoops, I missed. Here we go. And your third button might be hanging off a little bit, but that's okay. Should look something like this. And just put into the chat when you're ready for me to move on. Cool. Looks like you guys are ready. I'll just wait a little bit just to be sure. All right, so now I'm going to ask you guys a question. If you remember the drawing that I drew out, we had 3 buttons. Gallery for the first one. The second one was a back button. And the third one was a speak button. So based on what we've done before, can you think of a third component or another thing that we need to add to our components page? And a hint is that we've used this in other classes, and another hint is that this is a non-visible component. So the three buttons are gallery, back, and speech. Yeah, Sophia got it. So it's a text to speech because we remember that we have to drag that out in our components page. So we just drag out a text to speech and then just drag it onto the screen. And if you remember, non-visible components, they show up right here. Yep, and while you guys are getting that settled, I'm gonna go ahead and do some renaming just because, this is a little confusing. So I'm just gonna rename some stuff. And I would highly suggest to copy these same labels just because it'll be easier if you're following along. Especially like if you have like 3 buttons, you would want to rename this, like, because remembering button 1, what it does, button 2, what it does, that's like such a pain. So I'll give you guys a little bit of time just to get caught up with aligning your labels to mine. And then we're going to mess around with the property because obviously this does not look like where we want it to be, of course. So and maybe put in the chat when you're ready for this too. And also, can you guys see like the text like kind of well, or if you want, I can zoom in more. I hope you guys can see it well. Probably can zoom it in. All right, it's a good size. All right. I'll keep it like this. Nobody said they're ready to with all the labels, so I'll give you guys a little bit of time. All right, you guys are ready? So now we have all these labels. Again, it should be very clear, and that's one of the reasons why the planning out part of what I did with the whiteboard is so important, because now we have everything ready. We know everything that we want to add into our app. And so what we want to do first is set the properties, and we're going to go one by one, more or less. And so for image 1, the first thing I notice about this image is that this is so small. Like our image should be like the highlight, the star of this page. So we want to go to image, and then we want to mess with the height and width. And so can you guys suggest a change? And we did this before. We did this for the map specifically, that it could make here to height and width to make this picture or icon a lot bigger as we intended. Yep, you guys both got it, Aiden and Sean. So I'm gonna click fill parent, like that. And right away you see it looks a lot like what we intended. You can also set like specific sizes, or if pixels, I would never do something with pixels. I would do like just a percentage of the screen. That's always better, just because when you're on different devices, like a set number of pixels could make a big difference. And so that's what I did for that. And I don't think you need to do anything else for image 1 in terms of properties. So just make sure you set height and width to fill parents. All right, so next for location label, what I want you guys to do is increase the font size a little bit of this. So let's make, because the label should be pretty big, so let's make it like 24. So 24 font size. I don't know what units these are in, but I guess you can just kind of see them and get a sense of what's right for you. And I don't like this text for label 1 being the text. So I'm going to set this to location. And what's interesting about this, and we'll get into this later, is that what we set here is just a placeholder, right? Because we're going to replace this with through our code with the actual name of the place. But for now, even then, I want to just make sure that while I'm programming, I know what this text box is quickly. So I'm just going to set this to label. And then I'm going to align this to the center. Or wait, I'm going to basically just leave this as is. Yeah. All right, for description label, I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to set the width to description label to fill parent. So I'm going to leave this font size as is. So, or actually, no, I'm going to increase the font size for this too to 20. Not as much as the location title, because I want the location title, to be bigger. And again, you can mess around with all these settings. It doesn't matter too much. You can make it how you would like, especially if you're like more of like an artsy type person, you can mess around with this. But for just practicality purposes, I'm also going to rename this to location description like this. And the really important setting that you need to add here is you want to set the width of location description to fill parent. And so it should be, the height should be automatic, but the width, obviously you want the text to take up everything. So make sure to do it as that. And I'll give you guys some time to catch up with this. So again, the width of this is fill parent for location description or description label. But for location label, it's both of these are just automatic. So I'll give you guys a bit of time. All right, are you guys ready to move on? You can put it into the chats. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and keep going. I think, yeah, this should be good in terms of everything else. Now we need to mess around with the gallery button, back button, speak button. So now I'm gonna open this up to you guys. What should we do to the gallery button properties? Can you guys, based on what we designed, what changes do you think we can make to the gallery button? You guys can just give some examples of some changes or things that we need to modify in the properties to each of these 3 buttons, really.
Rename the text on them.
Yeah, rename. Some people suggested color, 30% size. All of these are very valid. I would say the only one that's really like 100% required is renaming the text, because you don't want your user to see text for button 1. So go ahead and rename this to gallery. So for gallery button, rename the text to gallery. And you guys can add, some of you suggested other changes, which are totally valid. So you guys can make those changes if you'd like, but I'm just going to leave it at this. Back to maps. And speak text is probably not the best name for this, but you know what, I think it's good enough. So yeah. So yeah, so gallery button or gallery back to maps and speak text should be the names of your buttons, and maybe
Should we
you,
center the location description, gallery back to maps and
yeah,
speak?
that's what I was gonna do next. To center these, you can click on the bigger components and click on like center, and it will center everything. Center all your components if you'd like. It's up to you how you would like to do it. But yeah, you can go ahead and mess around with those properties. And I centered it. Note, when I did center right here for a line horizontally, because all I really care about is horizontal. For the image, I filled the parent. I've done things that will make sure it looks nice visually. So if you want to center everything, go to location screen, look at the align horizontal property and align it to center. And honestly, your screen should look exactly like this. And again, I'll give you guys some time to make sure it's ready. And this is really all we need to do for the visual component of location screen, because right after this, we're going to get into the code. So just type in the chat ready when your screen looks nice like this and centered and all that stuff. And feel free to add some smaller, you can mess around with the properties as you wish. If you want different colors or something like that. All right, so a good number of people have said they're ready, so I'm going to keep going. And now we're going to go back actually to the whiteboard. So now I want to yeah, so now we're going to go back to the whiteboard. So I wish I knew how to save the whiteboard, but this is fine. So basically what we're going to be using right now is big picture, we want the user to click on something from the map. Then it goes onto our screen and it shows us something, something specific about a specific description about that place and all that stuff. And so to do that, what we need to really do is we need to set up 3 big lists. And a list is just a collection of items. It's like an array, or it's just a string of, it can be of any type of data type, really. Any of the big 3 data types. It can be like a list of string text, which is what we're going to use, or a list of numbers. Those are the 2 most common. And so what we're going to do is organize our data like this. And so let me go back to the whiteboard and do it. So we're going to make an array or a list called locations. And it's going to be a list of locations. And so this is how a list would look like. Pictures, and then descriptions. And so this is all pretty self-explanatory. Locations is going to be like the name of the 4 places. So it'll be like MIT, Hancock, Tower, and then, the other 2. Pictures is going to be the image file. So like, let's say you named it to MIT image.png, Hancock, or like you gave it your own name, I guess, png ... And then descriptions, which is going to be like, which I will give you guys, don't worry, the long description of all these places, And so what you're going to notice really interestingly is that, first of all, we can refer to all of these different objects by like looking at the index that they are in this list. So by index, I mean, what number are these on the list? And so this is index, or actually an MIT App Inventor, it starts off with 1. So this would be index 1 of this list, of the locations list, 3, 4, on and on and on. We would have 4 objects, or 4, the size of each of these lists would be 4. And so now I want to pose to you guys a question. And so does it matter if the order of what we have in these, like what order they're in this list? Like, does it matter for our purposes? Does it matter? Like, and maybe you can also give a little bit of insight as to why, if it does matter or why it does not matter. Is my screen not showing? Can you guys see the whiteboard actually?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, all right, that's good.
I see 3 lists.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, so the index, or yeah, the order actually does matter. So we want everything to be in order, right? So that we can refer to everything by just this one ID. So once I have this number, I can get every single all the information from all these lists, because I can just refer to locations and then 1. If I want like element 1 in the locations list, if I want this, and this. But if it was all jumbled up and out of orders, then I would need multiple different numbers to keep track of. Those different items or work. And so what I'm going to do now is go ahead and start. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna like just repeat everything I said. Sorry about that. So basically, we had that background is basically how the code is going to work. And so what I'm going to show you right now is what we have to do in the blocks portion, to get all of that, what I drew out, the idea of storing each of those different properties, locations, pictures, and descriptions, all in the lists. And so what we need to do is important, go to the blocks section. So go to location screen and blocks. And you guys can see my screen, right? Someone said that it went black. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Sorry. All right, great. So I'm in location screen and then I'm in blocks. And so what you want to do right away is you want to set up what's a variable called location index. And to do that, let's go into variables, initialize global name. We're going to rename this to location index. Actually, a convention in programming is to capitalize, like not capitalize the first word, but everything after that you capitalize it. So location index, and then we're going to set this to 0, just to start off. And this is going to be like our magic ID number that I talked about, like that's going to refer to everything in all the columns. And so once we have this number, we can keep track of everything once again. So that's why we need to initialize that variable. And then we're going to go ahead and start creating the lists. I'm going to do this by, let's see if I can just copy this. never mind, that did not work. So the way we're going to initialize this is go to initial variables, initialize global again, and then we're going to call this locations. Then you want to rename this, and then you want to go to the part where you're going to make a list. So you go to lists right there, and you click make a list. Then what we're going to do to create this list is we're just going to add different strings so you can keep on going. Basically, I don't know like the limit for how long you can make these lists, but 4 is definitely not that limit. So go ahead and keep dragging out objects. Oh. It could be, I don't know what's going on.
Try clicking the gear component and drag like a bunch of them underneath, like the gear icon, and then just keep dragging in more items. Yeah, it works.
After drag more text boxes.
Now, like on the list, you see the make a list like thing that you already have,
Yeah.
the block. Click the settings, like the gear icon.
Yeah.
Now, the item on the side, like on the left, yeah, right there, drag, and then just drag it underneath into the thing. Or not there, like in here.
Oh, okay, I see. Makes sense. Whoops. So that's how you set the list. Yeah, so that's how you change the size. I wish they made it a little bit more intuitive, but that's all right. So do this and then duplicate this twice. And I need to zoom out a little bit, guys. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead. So as you can see, I've kind of set up 3 lists: location, pictures, and descriptions. We're gonna add what's inside each of these lists. And so to do that, I'm gonna put into the chat what you need to type in. So for locations, you need to put like this in order. Pictures, don't type in pictures yet. Don't do pictures yet. And then for descriptions, this one is going to be, these are going to be pretty long. So I'm just going to go ahead and put them in order. So that's MIT's description. This is Navy Yard's description. This is Logan Airport's description. And then let's see. And again, remember, these are long descriptions. So, and these are, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take in what I put into the chat and then just copy paste it. So this is how it would look like. And for descriptions, I would just do it in order that I've put into the chat. So I'll give you guys some time to do that. I would make sure that it's in this order, just for, it will make it a lot easier, trust me, if you do it like that. Because everything needs to be aligned up. So as you can see, like MIT, that's like the first element on this list. Zero index. If it's zero index, it's index 0. If it's for one index, if you're doing one, like first element is index 1, then it's the first one. And you can see that correlates, or these correspond. Then for pictures, if you're ready to go there, I would say do not copy like what I've put onto the screen, because it's going to depend on what you named your files as. So in this case, I've named for MIT, I've named it MIT dome.jpg. So I do MIT dome.jpg. I gave it those specific names. So don't use the ones that I've done if you've not done them, and make sure they're in order. So this step will be, you're going to need to jump back and forth. And make sure spelling and stuff is all perfect for this. All right, I think I finished all of mine. I'll give you guys some time to do all of yours. And remember, the order is MIT, Navy Yard, Logan Airport, and Hancock Tower. And put into the chat once you're ready.
I just realized I didn't upload the pictures yet.
Okay, that's okay. Go ahead and do that real quick. It shouldn't be too, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. And of course, if you need help, just like message the TA or me. We can help you out.
Yeah, all right.
And if there's anyone like who wants me to show something on the screen, like go to a specific page, I can just go there. Otherwise, I might be just toggling between the two. And once again, another reminder, do not use these labels, otherwise it will mess up for you. Use the labels that you've given your images. And please put into the chat when you're ready. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and keep going then. I think enough people seem to be ready. This part should be pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going. So now what we're gonna do is, instead of the gallery, so we have, I guess, 3 buttons right here. The gallery button, I don't think we're gonna have time for it honestly today. So I'll explain how you can get the code for gallery and get that set up. But let's do the back to maps page right now. And so for back to maps, basically what we want to do is when back, so we click on the properties, scroll down, click on back button. When the back button is clicked, what we want to do is very simple. We want to close the screen. And so to do that, you click on location screen. to. And close screen is under built-in control. I was trying to find where that was. Here it is. So when back button is clicked, we want to do this. This is an event handler. Obviously, we want to close the screen. And I'll give you guys some time to get that set up. And now what we're going to do is the location screen setup. So when the location screen is initialized, and so when location screen is initialized, which means like when everything starts off. And then we'll just leave this as is, right?
Where is close screen?
Close screen is under built-in control.
Oh,
Scroll down and it's right here, close screen.
all right. Thanks.
Yep, no problem. Right, and so we did location, we did back to maps, and now let's do speak text. Can someone put into the chat what we would need to do? Like you can just kind of type it out. I know these are like blocks, so it might be a little weird, but how will we go about like doing the speak to text button? Like what event handler or what do we need to get set up? Yep, we need text to speech. So what we're going to do is when the speak button is clicked, we're going to call text to speech. And this is what I'm going to give you guys some time to get to this point. The location screen, we need to add some more stuff, and then we need to specify what we need to type here, but I'm going to do that a little bit after. I just want to get this event handler set up. So I'll give you guys a few more seconds to get these 3 elements set up. And if you're wondering where the close screen is, it's under built-in control close screen. All right, guys, I'm going to keep on going. So basically, I wanted to start off by going back to what we drew out in our plan. And basically what that is when screen 1 is clicked, right? When screen 1 is clicked, basically the information that we need to pass to the location screen is where are we? Like what location did the user click on? And I talked about this idea of the long click. So I want you guys to go back to screen 1, and then go to the blocks portion. And now let's add the code here before we finish up the final elements in the next screen. So here what we're going to do is we're going to say when, and then click on each of the elements. So for example, when MIT is long clicked, when Navy Yard is long clicked, and let's get all of those event handlers set up.
How do I switch back to screen 1? Because it just says add screen, remove screen.
So click right here and you can toggle between the two.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, sorry guys if I'm going a little fast. I just want to make sure that we finish. So of course, if you need, you can just always private message or use the chat as needed. And so I'm going to get for each of these markers, and what I'm going to do is we want to do go into controls and then click on this right here, this long statement, which is open screen. So we want to open a new screen and just drag that out. And this is in the control section, this specific block. I probably could have just done one of these and then duplicated it 4 times, but it's too late for that, I guess. So this is what you should have, and and again, if you're looking for this long block, it's in control, and then it's like, I guess you just scroll down and you'll find it. It's like right here. All right, and then we need to go to location screen. So set all of these to location screen. And then we have this little thing called start value. For start value, basically this is where we can pass information to the next screen. And so this is really useful. So you can pass in like whatever value you need to pass in through the start value. And I don't think this is required, so you don't need to do this. But if you want to pass another value, which we do need to in this case, we use this. And so for start value, you're going to go ahead and let's add a text box there. We're not going to pass in just blank text, but go ahead and add some text boxes. So this is how my code looks like right now. I think you can pass more than one value into this, but I guess the way you could do that is like pass a list or something. I don't know if you can, I'm not sure. I haven't messed around with this enough to figure out if you can pass in like a lot, but I think theoretically you could pass in a list, which let me see if you can. Or yeah, so could create a list and then pass it in. Yeah. All right, so this is how it should look like.
Rithvik,
Yeah.
I have a guess now. I'm not sure. I think you can pass the name of the location so that the location screen, that screen only display that particular location.
Exactly.
Display all of them. So that's why you need the value.
Yeah, that's why we need the value, because we need to know where on the location screen, what are we trying to give the description of. So now you need to go ahead and add these long descriptions, and these should be the same as what we put in on right here. So the same as what we put right here. Make sure they're exactly the same. So I would just go ahead and copy and paste those IDs and just put them in the corresponding location. I'm going to go a little bit faster, guys. But again, if you need anything, the code is on the screen and you can use the chat.
Wait, can you scroll up to where the giant thing is? Because I didn't see that.
Where the
Like
where
you made a giant like piece of code, I think, above.
yeah, it's right here on built-in control. Is it this?
Oh no! Oh yeah. No, I thought there was like something above your code currently. I probably just like have eye issues. But is there anything past this that you coded or?
There's nothing else besides this on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, Hancock Tower isn't filled out in the.
Yeah. Thanks. I was going to do that. So screen and then copy these exact locations, because we need to be able to find them in the list. That's why it matters so much. If you have random characters, or instead of John Hancock Tower, I did Hancock Tower, it could mess up. And again, also make sure that this is correlated with the right location. So it should look like this. I'll give you guys like like a minute or so, just to get this all settled. All right, I'm gonna keep on going. You can put in the chat if you need to see this again, but this should be pretty now you have to go to a location screen. So this is where you have to go to location screen. And now we're gonna be able to take in what we got from the last screen and then make it all work together. So let's see. So now what we want to do is we want to go to variables. We want to set our global index variable. So let me put that right here. Set our global locations index variable, because with the information that we're getting in from the last screen, we want to figure out what index we're at, right? And to do that, we're going to use get location index variable. Then we're going to lists. Then we're going to say index in list things in thing list, or in list thing, we're gonna, from where we are, we're gonna get the start value, right? And this get start value is in control. You just scroll down here and get it. And I'm gonna go ahead and what list do we need to search? We need to search this from our variables. And then what list do we need to search? We need to set search locations. Yep. So like this, and if you're wondering, you can look at the color of these blocks to find them. That will help you best. Right, and so what we're just trying to do is get the starting value, see where that is in the locations list, and then set locations index and figure out, okay, are we at the first element in all of these three lists that we're using, the second index, third index, something like that. And now once we get that, we are pretty much set. All we're going to do is go to each of the location labels, and then with all the information that we have, we can set the corresponding information. So duplicate this 2 times. And what property do we need to mess around with? We need to set description label. And you want to set the text elements for all of these. And then for image, obviously you want to set the image to picture. So we have locations label, description label, image 1. Again, just look at this line of code and make sure that yours is exactly matching this. That's going to be really important. Then we want to, with this, we want to select an item in the list. So we want to get the information from those respective lists. And we do that by using this right here. Yeah, and what we're going to get, and go ahead and duplicate this a few times. So
I think it's possible to Control-C, Control-V it.
yeah, it probably is. Yeah, Control-C, Control-V does work. Yeah, and then we're gonna get from the list. For location label, we want to get it from the list locations. For description label, we want to get this from the list descriptions. And for image, we want to get it from the list global pictures, right? So pictures like this. And then what value do we get? We want to get the location index at each of these lists. And this corresponds, this is basically the code version of what I drew on the whiteboard right after the break, right? And then for the speak button, for the speech to text, what we're going to do is essentially speak what's in the descriptions. We want to speak what's in the description, so we do this. And the property is, yeah. So I know I'm sorry for going so fast on this step, guys. I'll just leave this up here. Once this is done, your code should be good to compile. So you can go ahead and run your code and see if it works. And you should have built your tour guide app. And I'll later on, I'll share, I think Dr. Meng can share with you guys the completed code, including the gallery step. So you can also go through that code. And so I'll see if Dr. Meng should be able to send you that specific code for the gallery step.
Yes, I can put it in the master document.
Yeah.
Put the link to the master document. So if you are in the Discord, yeah, you should be able to get it.
Yeah. So you'll be able to get that code. Sorry for not going over that. We didn't have enough time for that, but it's a little bit trickier than what we've done so far, but it uses some of the same ideas. You know, you have a list of images and then you just want to be able to use like things like the camera module and the palette and get that to work. So I'll let you guys go ahead and try this out, and please do put in the chat if it was able to work for you guys, if you got it working as intended. If not, let us know and I'll stay after for a little bit for you guys. But we've hit like the 2-hour mark. So I thank you guys for coming today. And, you know, congratulations on going through and building out your first big project, maybe your second or third if you've worked with this before. And I hope you can use the skills and for some bigger projects that you guys have in mind and solve problems that you're interested in. That step of planning out like what we did, planning out what you want to do, converting that to code, that's the basis of almost all development and programming that you see around you. So I hope you guys enjoyed the lecture. And again, I'll be staying here for a little bit. If you guys were able to get it to work or need some help debugging, happy to help you out. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Rithvik. Yeah, Rithvik, can I invite you to the Discord? I just sent a link to the chat.
Yeah. I'm joining.
Okay, wonderful.
And I'm gonna stop my screen share for you guys.
Okay. Can we test your, Rithvik, can we test your application?
Yes. Should I publish it to gallery?
I got a runtime error. Or it wasn't a, yeah, I got a runtime error. It said select list item, attempted to get item number 0 of the list, MIT, Charleston, Navy Yard, etc. The minimum valid item number is 1.
Okay, try setting initialize global index to 1.
Initialize, wait, where's that? Oh, initialize global location index to 1.
Yeah, try that.
All right, I tried it. Hold on. When I click it, hold on. When I click gallery and back to maps, it does nothing. Interesting.
Okay, gallery should not do anything because we haven't added the code. Back to maps, that's interesting.
Hold on. Yeah, wait, are we still doing this tomorrow?
We will have a class tomorrow.
All right, I have to kind of go right now. I'll try debugging it.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Bye.
Also, I will post the solution.
All right.
So
Thank you.
have the right solution. And yeah, I think it's very easy for programs to have some like a very tiny bugs, and that's totally prevents you from running.
Bye.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone. You guys have a good night.
Yes.